means and services.
In a closed society where everybody's guilty, the only crime is getting caught. In a world of thieves, the only final sin is stupidity. Hunter S. Thompson.
Each year losing.
If you take in media of any kind, it's important to evaluate what the presenters want you to know about or feel. It's an easy thing to discern in the sports arena. They want you to spend your money on pickup trucks, diamond rings, life insurance, and divorce lawyers. Something like Tiger King is more complicated. There aren't ad breaks every half inning, so we don't know who is paying to keep us from thinking our own thoughts. Netflix isn't advertising razor blades or tires, but they are selling a worldview. In this piece of media, I'll give an assessment of Tiger King through my own lens, which in recent weeks has been colored heavily by unemployment, a lecture on cassette tape called Ghosts, Carl Jung and Baseball, and Paul F. Case's exegesis on the Tarot, published in 1947. This show is not about animal rights. Until the end of the series, the moral question of keeping apex predators as pets is largely ignored. Tigers and other exotic creatures provide their service as a stage prop and the source of the character's main motives. If you are interested in the kind of drama that follows a man's descent into madness, with the ordinary sorts of literary conflicts such as man versus society and man versus man, watch Tiger King or read Shakespeare. Here, I'll focus more on an idea that was insinuated in the series but not developed in fullness, that of man versus himself. In this drama, the torment inside each individual character creates the schism from which all other conflicts arise, and the reason for their participation in the exotic animal industry. The show is about what happens to people living with unhealed trauma. The message I took from Tiger King regards the necessity for a broader approach to human rights. We need to do much better at providing adequate and accessible mental health care for all, especially the most vulnerable people in society, at-risk youth. When teenage Joe Exotic came out to his family, his father made Joe promise not to come to his funeral. Bereft of his father's love and despondent, Joe attempted suicide by driving his squad car off a bridge. His back broke, but he survived. During his recovery, it came to pass that he fell in love with captive tigers. Carol Baskin was raped by 3 men at gunpoint at the age of 14. At 19, she eloped with a 40-year-old man who was a big cat breeder, who later disappeared in strange circumstances. She now runs a big cat sanctuary. It's unclear exactly what Bhagavan Doc Antle's past holds. His mother named him Bhagavan, which no one in school could pronounce, instead calling him Kevin. Anyway, he started collecting big cats and used them to seduce a harem of wives. Despite their apparent dumbness, Joe, Carol, and Doc show intelligence in subtle ways. They have an innate understanding of how to get what they want out of other people and institutions. Doc and his animals work for Hollywood, and he has beguiled a number of women into his power structure. Carol has a massive social media following and the rapt attention of animal rights groups. Joe just wants to be loved. Another trait they share seems to be a particular blind spot in their paths of personal development. As an armchair psychologist, it's the quarantine talking, I'm spitballing here to suppose that it's some sort of combination of stealth and power that makes people associate predatory cats with sexuality. See Sex Panther Cologne, Cougar Town, Leopard Print Underwear, Tiger Woods. At that point, one realizes that a sexuality based on stealth and power is toxic. So much for old-fashioned open communication. The theme that recurs for each of the main characters, in one way or another, is that of love withheld and sexual coercion by various dynamics. It's easy to speculate that none of them received the necessary attention from their families, their fathers in particular. If you're going to be crazy, you have to get paid for it, or else you are going to be locked up. Hunter S. Thompson. Craziness worked well for Joe Exotic when he was still making money. His drive to be loved gave rise to his ridiculous political campaigns, opening the door for his embezzlement of zoo funds, and hatching the murder plot that brought him down. The ego is that which modifies and transmutes the flow of energy from subconsciousness to self-consciousness, and his ego was out of control. The love his father withheld when Joe came out as gay was at the root of Joe's incessant search for love and acceptance. At the end, no one testified for Joe in court. They all left him in the lurch. The bonds of love he sought were based on flimsy premises, material wealth, and what safety, love, and drugs he could provide. Tarot Key 8, Strength, shows a woman taming a lion, but Paul Foster Case points us toward the Hebrew letter Teth to begin discerning the meaning of the image. Teth means snake, symbol of what has been known among occultists for ages as the serpent power. The serpent is related to the nerve currents directed upward through the spinal centers in the practice of yoga. This suggests the Kundalini serpent of Hindu tradition that carries our life force from our feet up to our brain and back. Leo, the lion, is the astrological sign attributed to the letter Teth. Leo governs the sides, back, heart, and spinal column. Recall now the injury Joe sustained in his suicide attempt. P.F. Case goes on to explain that the lion, as king of beasts, represents all subhuman forces, all subhuman expressions of the cosmic vital electricity. The king stands for all his subjects. The image of the woman taming the lion represents the assimilation of the hostile, destructive, dangerous, or wild forces in nature. Subconsciousness always directs the activities of the subhuman forces of nature. This is true whether the actions of those forces be hostile or friendly to man. Subconsciousness, in turn, is always amenable to impressions originating at the self-conscious level of mentation. Joe uses the tigers to seduce bi-curious, drug-addicted men whom he manipulates, controls, and keeps at his zoo along with the tigers. He exhibits cleverness at times, but then proceeds to do something infantile, a pattern that results in his downfall. Doc uses the tigers to attract vulnerable young women and similarly control them. Carol perhaps keeps the tigers captive to fulfill a sense of security, safety, and control that was violently and forcibly taken from her. My hypothesis is that Joe, Carol, and Doc share in common the terrible misfortune that they were unable to heal adequately from their traumas of loss of love and personal power. The serpent power of cosmic energy that normally ascends up the spinal column was diverted or blocked as a result of these traumas, and lacking the resources to develop self-consciousness and to heal these wounds in the realm of psychology or spirit, they attempted to regain that power literally by owning and controlling live tigers. They were so close to solving the mystery, so close to healing, but missed the metaphorical and personal aspects of the energetic work. People like Joe Exotic, Captain Ahab, and the President of the USA lack such self-awareness, and therefore are at the mercy of their ego drives. Instead of their life energy being meaningfully directed with self-conscious choices, their egos are controlled by subconscious urges. Madness and mayhem are the inevitable result. American audiences loved the docudrama Tiger King, Murder, Mayhem, and Madness, because so many of us are similarly at the mercy of our subconscious urges. We lack the self-direction and powers of higher thought to manage our animal natures successfully. Controlling our subconscious drives with the power of self-conscious practices such as meditation or contemplation is how we tame the lion, not an actual lion, and make him our servant. Now that we're all subject to the whims of the madman in the Oval Office, as well as being stuck in our cages as the result of this pandemic, it makes a certain amount of sense that Joe Exotic has become the folk hero of the day. Remember what Manuel Puig suggested in Kiss of the Spider-Woman, which is that a panther in a cage is not a panther at all. Keeping the tigers captive robs them of the power that attracted Joe, Carol, and Doc to them in the first place, sealing their fates as victims of their own subconscious pain.